Okay, I've got my clay, water, all my tools that I need are right here. Okay, once again, rib, needle tool, modeling tool. Okay, make sure you get the one that looks kind of like a knife, and then a sponge and a bucket of water. Those are gonna be your main tools. Make sure you have those 4 tools every single time you sit down. If you don't, I will probably come over to you and say, hey, you need those tools. All right, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna get my hands wet. All right, we wanna make sure that our hands are nice and slippery so that they allows the clay to spin in my hand. Therefore, it's not going to stop. If the clay is spinning and then it stops, the wheel will continue to spin and it'll twist and break your clay away. And therefore, obviously you're gonna lose a bunch of clay or you have to start over completely. So make sure that your hands are always slippery. Make sure that the clay is always slippery. If at any time the clay starts to feel tacky or sticky, if it gets warm or if it feels really gritty, stop what you're doing, take your hands away, add some water, okay? You can always put your hands back where they were so that therefore you can continue where you left off. There's nothing wrong with taking your hands away from the wheel, okay? Or taking your hands away from your clay. Beginners a lot of times will do that. They'll sit there and go, oh, I can't, take my hands off the clay. Sure you can, why not? It's not going anywhere, okay? So make sure that you're careful about that. All right, so we wanna use a lot of water, but we don't wanna use too much, and that'll be kind of a, getting used to it. I'm just gonna make sure that it's nice and wet, get a little slip build up here, okay? And then that way my hands are going to be able to spin, or the clay is gonna be able to spin under my hands, okay? Now, hand placement is the most important thing. Your left elbow is going to be coming in as close to my belly button as I can possibly get it, all right? So therefore, I'm going to be leaning forward. Notice as I bend at my waist, okay, I'm leaning forward and my hand moves with my upper body. By bringing my elbow in, what I'm doing is I'm attaching my arm to my upper body so that I have all this upper body weight behind it. This little 5-pound ball of clay will push you around if you don't have that. If you're trying to do it with just arm strength, notice that my elbows are out like this, even with both hands, I'm not gonna have the stability I will if I bring my body into the mix and use my body weight to help center the clay. The whole idea behind this is we want to get the clay to spin in a perfect circle. So that's what we're gonna be doing. So the first step is going to be getting a good position so that I can lean into it. Notice I am very close to the wheel, okay? So that as I lean forward, I'm putting pressure here on the heel of my palm. If I put pressure on my hand, notice that my hand, my fingertips move, okay, and bend my wrist. Whereas I push here, I can't move that because that's all connected to the bone that is then connected to my elbow, which is then connected to my body, okay? So I'm leaning forward and putting the pressure here. 90% of the work is done with your left hand pushing forward, okay? Now again, we're not pushing forward trying to push the clay off the wheel, we're just trying to get it to not move and not move us. Because if we don't move, then the clay will, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and spin the wheel full speed, okay? And you want to keep a consistent speed.
I'm having trouble. Sorry.
You want to keep a consistent speed. Think of driving on the freeway, those of you that drive, okay? If you're driving on the freeway, you want to keep a nice consistent speed. If you're going fast, slow, the person behind you is going to get frustrated, okay? So always try to keep a consistent speed. That way when you're putting pressure on, it'll put pressure on evenly around, okay? So I'm going to lean into the clay this way. I'm going to pull back with my hand and I'm going to create the squeezing motion, all right? The clay can't go down. I'm squeezing it from the front and the back, and so therefore it's going to rise. It's going to have to come up as I lean into it. So I push forward, I pull back, okay? And I'm leaning into it. Now one thing that's happening is my hands, I don't know if you guys can see that, but my hands dried out because I let it spin for too long. So take my hands away, add a little bit more water, okay? And then I'm going to lean into it. And you can see that the clay has changed its shape. It's gotten taller, all right? So as it comes up, I'm going to continue to make that into kind of a cone shape, okay? It's actually called coning. Remember, Chinese people are simple people, okay? And again, watch how many times I reach back into my bucket. Watch how many times I grab more water, okay? The second step is kind of a little more difficult, all right? I'm gonna clean this off just so you can see. Don't do this when you're doing it, but just so you guys can see it. So my palm is nice and clean. I'm gonna put the top of the clay in the center of my palm. my palm and my hand are gonna try to stay at a 90-degree angle this way and vertically as best I can. So as I lean into it, okay, notice that the top of the clay is right in the center of my palm. So that's step one. Step two, I'm gonna fold my thumb down, okay, so that I make this little shelf. You can kind of see that shelf there, all right? And then step three is my right hand is gonna come in kind of like a karate chop. Now I'm not pushing down with this hand. Do not push down with this hand. Cannot stress that enough. I see too many people going like this, and that's the wrong way to do it, okay? So 1, 2, 3. This hand comes in and just extends that little shelf that I've got there. So the shelf is here, and then I continue it on with that. So 1, 2, 3. I'm doing most of my work with my left hand by pushing it forward, okay? It's actually bending a little bit forward, and then I'm gonna force it down with both hands. Again, keep this hand straight up and down. Keep it at a 90-degree angle as possible. If it starts to get dry or sticky, I add water, okay? And so I'm leaning down with it. Again, 90% of the work is being done with my left hand. My right hand is more there just to stabilize than to actually do most of the work, okay? And once I get down here, I feel that my left hand got a little bit dry, so I'm gonna add some water. My left hand is now touching the bat. This part of it right here, I can feel it touching the bat. When that happens, I'm gonna take my right hand and I'm gonna roll it back by putting a little bit of pressure on the top so that I create this dome shape, okay? And that's gonna save us a little bit of difficulty later on. Now this stuff down here, this is what we call squeeze out. This stuff just kind of smears along the side of it. You can see that if I put my hands on it, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's kind of making my hands bounce around and that kind of thing. We wanna get rid of that. Use your rib, okay? The little hole there is actually a grip, so when your hands are covered with clay, you'll be able to grip onto that. Grab it here, okay? Scrape at 9 o'clock, so think of this like a clock, 3 o'clock, okay? And scrape away all that stuff that's down there. All right, throw this into that scrap bucket that's in the center of all the wheels. All right, add a little bit more water, and I'm gonna repeat this process, okay, until this spins in a perfect circle. Not sure if you can see it, but there is a little bit of a wobble to this, so I'm gonna go ahead and repeat that process, all right? One more time. I lean into it, okay, with this hand. I'm pulling back with this hand. As I do that, the clay will start to rise. As it does, I follow it up, and I make it into a cone shape, okay? I'd probably go a little bit higher if I wanted to. I've got a little bit more clay than I would expect as a beginner, okay? What you should have at the top is the top should be nice and flat, or maybe just a slight indentation. If you get what's called a volcano, okay, where it's like a really deep cone shape going down in from the bottom, from the top, that means that you didn't round it out when we brought it back down. So that will help counteract that, okay? So 1, 2, 3. I lean the clay forward. I slowly start to force the clay down. Remember, the wheel moves fast, the hands move slow. Everything happens gradually. Starts to dry out, take your hands away. Add a little bit more water, okay? Bringing it down, leaning into it, okay? You can see the little black ring that's developing. That's from my hand, okay, touching there. And when that happens, okay, I'm just gonna try and hold it nice and steady, and then I'm gonna roll my right hand back, rounding out the top so that I've got that nice round shape. Like I said, as you bring that up, that will counteract that cone shape, all right? So I'm gonna continue to do this, practice this is for about the first 30 minutes that you're working on the wheel, all right? The reason is because this is the key to it all. If you don't get the clay to spin in a perfect circle, you're never gonna get a project that's going to be perfectly straight or is going to stay upright as you're doing it, okay? Some people will clean off their wheel, you know, and get rid of all that slip down there. You know, they'll take their sponge and they'll clean this off. That's a personal preference. I usually don't. But if you really want to, you can. The other thing is beginners a lot of times think if a little water is good, more water is better. That's not really the case, because the more water you put on here, okay, and I squeeze that out, oh yeah, cool, I got lots of water. A, you're gonna have a tray full of water down here. B, you've just washed away all that nice smooth slip that's on your clay, all right? So we wanna make sure that we use enough water to keep it slippery, but not too much, all right? Okay, so we're gonna practice this. I'll do a little bit more of the coning and bring it up and down. And then once it gets centered, I'll show you how to do, to open it up and actually start building something. And I'll do that in the next video.